And a warm welcome to you all. My name is Lisa Tullus, and we're broadcasting to you live from the Vattenfall headquarters here in Hamburg. Next Generation EU is a driving force in the formation of the new business landscape. In this endeavor, innovation, sustainable action, and digital development are more important than ever. While the adaptation and transformation come with challenges, it also comes with opportunities. Opportunities that can be captured and further developed by Swedish-German cooperation. Right here behind me, we will hear from a number of interesting projects and people, including how Polestar and Northvolt are disrupting the traditional automotive industry, and how Vattenfall joined forces with Varma Hamburg in a public-private partnership for innovative renewable energy solutions. The program will end with a panel discussion on the theme of a reinvention for innovation. But first, I'm happy to welcome Sweden's ambassador to Germany, Per Töresson.
Thank you very much, dear Lisa. Madam State Secretary Dörfors, Mr. State Secretary Högberg, Madam Lord Mayor Redin, from me a very, very warm welcome to this year's Swedish-German Business Day. It's actually great to be in Hamburg finally, to do this hybrid event, but some of us are present physically. That's been organized by Business Sweden, Swedish Chamber of Commerce, and the Swedish Embassy in Berlin. And I would also like to extend a warm thank you to Vattenfall for hosting us very generously here in Hamburg. You mentioned a few key aspects, Lisa, of what we are discussing today. And I would like to maybe raise our thoughts a bit higher. Just 5 days ago in Glasgow, 200 governments around the world decided on a more ambitious, you have to say that, a more ambitious climate agenda with concrete measures leading up to climate neutrality, hopefully by the latest 2050. And in this, I think it's very vital that some countries move ahead and show what is possible. I think two countries that are exemplary placed to do that are Sweden and Germany. Recovery and Resilience Facility decided by the EU, we're talking about almost €750 billion. It's so much money you can't even understand it. And this is to make the green and digital transition. It's of course an enormous opportunity for companies, but for countries as well. But we have to make the right investment. We have to invest the funds in a wise manner. And through collaboration, we can clearly achieve much more than we can as individual countries, especially if we're talking about close partners like Sweden and Germany, who already have a long tradition of collaboration and innovation. And we can also get inspired by other examples of cooperation with, for example, the EU-wide IPCEI projects on batteries and hydrogen. We also have our bilateral innovation partnership, already consisting of some of the key areas like mobility, batteries, AI, and much more. And as you said, Lisa, I think the program today is put together very wisely to demonstrate both how key industries are working in collaboration and with innovations. We have some case studies. We also look forward to the panel discussion towards the end. So I think we're going to have an exciting morning today. And it's now my pleasure to invite the two state secretaries, Madame Dörfors from Berlin and State Secretary Högberg from Stockholm, to deliver their messages. Madame Claudia Dörfors, the screen is now yours.
State Secretary Högberg, dear Emil, Ambassador Töresson, Mr. Rüberg, Mrs. Lieberg, participants of the Swedish-German Business Day. Last year, I sent you a virtual greeting because of the pandemic. This year, I cannot be with you due to other scheduled commitments. This is very much to my regret, because after all, Germany and Sweden have been strong partners for a long time. Our countries share similar views both in the field of European policy and on a large number of international issues. As the start of the EU presidency trio of France, the Czech Republic and Sweden nears, German-Swedish cooperation is also coming to the fore at European level. Moreover, as you know, Germany is Sweden's #1 trading partner, but since Brexit, this partnership has become even closer. And there is still a lot of potential for further cooperation. I'm thinking, for example, of areas of innovation, the fight against climate change, and international advocacy of multilateral approaches and open world markets. You are, of course, already maintaining an intense focus on these issues. The German-Swedish Innovation Partnership, which has contributed to integrating and intensifying our relations, is a key element in this context. Let me give you just 4 specific examples. First, German and Swedish businesses are working together on battery cell production, and they are doing so with great success, both at European level in the context of the IPCEIs, the important project of common European interest on batteries, which are being supported by the German and Swedish governments, and through concrete bilateral business agreements. Second, our cooperation within the framework of our Central Innovation Programme for SMEs is a great success. Once again, a large number of applications have been submitted for the 4th round of bidding, which has recently been concluded. Third, Swedish and German digital health startups have been meeting online to promote the sharing of ideas and experience in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. At the German-Swedish Health Tech event organized by our Digital Hub initiative, stakeholders were able to discuss the opportunities and challenges for e-health startups in the wake of the pandemic. Finally, our private sector collaboration on forward-looking topics is truly excellent as well. An example worth mentioning here is Mercedes-Benz equity stake in the Swedish startup H2 Green Steel. The aim of the collaboration is to use zero-carbon steel in serious production vehicles from as early as 2025. These are all examples of the great level of interest in cooperation among innovative German and Swedish companies and testimony to our excellent economic relations. The German federal government will be at your side to support you by providing responsible and targeted action and, where necessary, also funding at both national and European level. Ladies and gentlemen, for overcoming this crisis, your spirit of innovation is needed more than ever. I am confident that our energetic entrepreneurs and strong SMEs will achieve the twin transition towards climate neutrality and digital leadership, even in a challenging economic environment. This event offers an excellent opportunity to maintain our reliable bilateral dialogue. It looks at existing cooperation projects and explores areas where we can work together even more closely. I would like to thank all of you participating today from both our countries who have made this possible. I wish you successful discussions and hope that you all stay healthy and safe. Thank you very much.
Dear State Secretary Dörfors, Ambassador Töresson and friends, it's an honor for me to welcome you all to the yearly Swedish-German Business Day. I was looking forward meeting you all in person today, but unfortunately that didn't work out. I hope I will get the opportunity to join next year instead. For Sweden, Germany is one of our most important partners in the EU. We share values and interests in many areas, and we have, since 5 years, a bilateral innovation partnership. As you probably know, Germany is Sweden's most important trading partner, receiving about 10% of Sweden's total export. This is also reflected by the more than 1,500 Swedish companies represented on the German market. Many of you are represented here today. And over 1,000 German enterprises are registered in Sweden, creating thousands of job opportunities. We have been through a historically turbulent period with the COVID-19 pandemic affecting us in many ways. The Business Climate Survey from Team Sweden in Germany in 2020 showed that Swedish companies in Germany have been affected by the pandemic by large uncertainty and worries about the future. This year's survey shows a much more positive picture and a positive outlook on the future. 59% of the respondents enjoyed a profitable 2020, 44% of respondents plan to increase their investments, and 71% expect their industry's turnover to increase in 2021. With this positive outlook in mind, we have right now a unique moment in time to accelerate the green and digital transition and to build back better after the pandemic. The Swedish government is dedicated to the green transition, and our parliament has decided that Sweden should be climate neutral by 2045. Our business sectors are also committed to this goal through the initiative Fossil Free Sweden, where the sectors have drawn up their own roadmaps on how to be fossil free and at the same time increasing their competitiveness. As one of the world leaders in innovation, Sweden has a unique platform to contribute and to fulfill these goals. Sweden is ranked as the most innovative country in the EU according to the European Innovation Scoreboard, and as number 2 in the world, after Switzerland, according to the Global Innovation Index by World Intellectual Property Organization. Innovation and cross-border cooperation are key for a green and digital transition, and we are very pleased to have the bilateral innovation partnership between Sweden and Germany. Since 2017, we have in the partnership worked together to promote innovation, create new export opportunities, and boost long-term competitiveness to enable the green and digital transition. The partnership is an important foundation that brings our companies and institutions closer together, paving the way for deepened cooperation between our countries within key areas like climate, health, digitalisation, and industrial competitiveness. Successful examples are the collaboration around batteries in the project EU BAT-IN and the large collaborative project on electrical road systems, where it is key that countries go together to avoid development of solutions isolated to one country. By joining forces, we can develop products and solutions that address the European and global societal challenges ahead. With this, I wish you an interesting and informative meeting and look forward to continuing fruitful cooperation and even deepened relation between our countries for the future. Thank you very much.
Our thanks to the Ambassador and State Secretaries Dörfors and Högberg. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, EU member states, with Germany in lead, have decided to allocate more than 800 billion euro to Next Generation EU, a recovery package to build a stronger, greener and more digital Europe. Anna Liberg serves as Sweden's Trade and Invest Commissioner to Germany and is here to elaborate on the implications and business opportunities the recovery funds bring. Anna, welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. As you are well aware, we have 3 key events: release of the Next Generation EU, mentioned by Lisa, the COP26, and a new ample government about to come into power beginning of December in Berlin. All of these, of course, having a major impact on the development of climate and of society. Business community will be a major driver reaching the goals set up by COP, by EU and by Germany. I will today speak about where we see the largest business opportunities and collaboration opportunities between Sweden and Germany to be a catalyst to reach these goals. The long-term EU budget, the multi-annual financial framework, or MFF, for the years of 2021 to 2027 consists of 2,000 trillion euro. This is the largest stimulus package ever released in the Union. A third of the total budget is allocated to Next Generation EU, which is, to cite Ursula von der Leyen, because with Next Generation EU, we are reshaping our continent for decades ahead. Hence, this is EU's way to finance a green and digital restart in the membership countries. National plans for implementation will have to meet binding goals, both when it comes to digitalisation and to climate achievements. This will help EU to achieve its target of climate neutrality by 2050 and set the path for a green and digital transition. But this will also be the foundation for continued European EU competitiveness globally. Italy, France, Spain and Germany are the top net receivers of the EU, the Next Generation EU. In Germany, the Recovery and Resilience Plan, or the Deutsche Aufbau- und Resilienzplan, so-called DARP, is aligned to the future package that was part of the pandemic support package released in 2020. The 28 billion euros received by Germany clearly exceeds the requirement from EU for the national plans and delivers on both climate and digital goals. Let us then have a look on the areas of the DARP where collaboration between Germany and Sweden create opportunities for business when the DARP will be realized and implemented both on national, regional and in dedicated projects. If we look on the first package, climate with outlook for climate and energy, a very large focus is on development of hydrogen and the hydrogen value chain, both for production, for distribution, but also applications. This is an area where there's, as we already have heard today, both Sweden and Germany are running lighthouse projects and in strong collaboration. Secondly, we have climate neutral mobility, everything from battery technology to charging infrastructure that needs to be launched in Germany. Also here, both Swedish and German companies are leading the way and working together. Thirdly, in the climate and energy area, we have climate efficient buildings, where it's all about climate neutral materials and smart control technology. So as you can see, both this area and the area of digitalization when it comes to production, AI, etc., but also the areas as e-health and smart public administrations provide lots of opportunities for businesses. Then the other two events, COP26 and a new government. Germany is strongly committed to the coal phase-out, however, have not yet supported the idea of phase-out of the combustion engine. But when we look on what we can foresee with the new ample coalition in Germany, it is likely to believe that there will be even more emphasis on green investments, on digital investments, with a very clear business perspective in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those interesting words, Anna. The mobility industry is core for the German and Swedish economies and is currently undergoing a transformation through a series of disruptive trends. In Sweden, the industry is centered around the city of Gothenburg. And here with us today, we have the Lord Mayor and Chairman of the City Council from the city of Gothenburg, Anneli Redin. Welcome, Anneli. It's a pleasure having you here. And Gothenburg, the home of Volvo and other strong mobility players, sometimes goes under the name of the automotive capital of Scandinavia. How is the city working on supporting the mobility industry in this interesting transformation?
Well, thank you for the question. First, we acknowledge the importance of the mobility industry in our promotion activities where visibility for our industry is a priority. We have a long-standing research and premium position commitment. We have 3 science parks. We have Johanneberg Science Park, we have Lindholmen Science Park, and we have also Sahlgrenska Science Park, where the industry, academia, and the city collaborate for future sustainable mobility solution. We also invest for infrastructure. You probably heard about Västlänken. For example, new roads, railways, and also our large harbor are important for the priority for our industry. To just give you some numbers, in Västra Götaland, as our region, mobility industry are distributed in 150 business companies. And if we see the whole Sweden, that's 300. So yes, to answer your question, Gothenburg is still the capital of the automobility in Scandinavia. 150 companies.
That's very, very interesting. And how you talked about collaboration in the science park, but how do you work with fostering collaboration between all these interesting players?
To example, to see the collaboration, I just want to say that Gothenburg is a history based on collaboration with other nations. For example, for 400 years ago, that's so long. Our history, I mean, we were built and organized by the Dutch, the German, and the Scots. So our motto is a city open to the world. We also lead by the example that the city of Gothenburg achieved participants in various collaboration efforts. But I would also like to say to our 2 universities, we have the Chalmers University and Gothenburg University, that have a close collaboration with the cities and the industry. And there's also the triple helix that are also very important. So just some example about how to do with the collaboration.
Thank you. Very interesting to hear, and we could obviously talk hours and hours about this, and I'm sure many other cities and nations can learn from the example of Gothenburg. Thank you very much, Anneli. We will now listen to a frontrunner stemming from the Gothenburg automotive industry that is, during the last years, have embarked on an exciting journey here in Germany. Polestar and Alexander Lutz, welcome.
Hi everyone. Let me take you on a little journey. How did you feel at this time last year? I can tell you I felt a little bit sad, secluded, and honestly not very nice. And I think our world has changed. I'm speaking not only about COVID, I'm really speaking about climate change. And that's also why obviously we are here. That is very important to us as Polestar because that is really one of our main drivers and the mission of Polestar to ensure that we drive this sustainable challenge. And you know that COVID, yes, has obviously made us realize that there is definitely a change in our behavior that then makes a big difference to us as people in that sustainability mission. We can see it because even though we had COVID, what you see on this slide definitely has precedent over even a global pandemic. So for us as Polestar, we've seen that many things changed in this year. And one of them clearly is not only that I was sad and that we all were sad, but really that even though our digitalization went ahead and went forward, we didn't make that much of a difference for ourselves. And I don't want to get into the philosophical reasons why we didn't feel great last year. I want to really get into the decrease of emissions that happened because of one thing. And that one thing is our own behavior. So we've noticed that we all can make a change, and that if we do make that change, we can help the environment and help sustainability. But for us as Polestar, this doesn't only change when it comes to electrification. We know that for Polestar, it starts with the electric car, but it's certainly not the end. It's the beginning. And when you look at our mission as Polestar, the electric car, yes, is the start, but we have much to show. And that is one of the things we want to show, because we are sure that if you withhold information about vehicles, you withhold side effects almost like a drug, like a medical drug. And we as Polestar, and you can see this on the slide, are very open when it comes to the data that our cars are in emissions. So the greenhouse gases here, you can see CO2 tons, are very important. But not only the data of how much emissions we produce per car over the life cycle, you were talking about 200,000 kilometers here, also about the methodology. And the methodology for us is just as important as the data you see in the slide, because if you don't know how it's calculated, it's very difficult to understand the accuracy. And we know that what we show on this slide isn't 100% accurate yet. So we are looking to improve this every year. This is the second iteration, and we will have this life cycle assessment report on sustainability also the next year. Our cars, as I said, electrification really is the beginning. It's not the end. And we aim to do this by using recyclable materials. Sweden obviously is a front runner in this. I know Volvo and Polestar have already talked about sustainable or more sustainable steel production because it is one of the main drivers, but really looking at the car as a total and using recyclable materials in the car, in the production, and as you see here, as one of our vehicles that's not on the road yet, Polestar Precept, is that mission to ensure we're going towards that sustainable life. Going forward, Polestar Precept, which we've said goes into production, is that car. It's that mission statement to say we want to start with electrification but go much further, and we have a very long and also challenging road ahead of us because we just announced that by 2030 we will have a vehicle that is going to be net zero emissions. No offsetting, no planting trees, no marketing materials. It is really net zero. What does that mean to us? Well, we don't know exactly how to achieve it yet because at this moment in time, we don't know how to get there yet. I think these goals are important to set, and our project Zero for Polestar shows that you need these kind of ambitious goals to ensure that you go in a direction where maybe you don't know how to get there yet, but we know we need to start. And as was discussed in COP26, it doesn't need incremental change. It needs radical change, and we as Polestar are the drivers of that radical change in sustainability for the automotive industry. Polestar 3 comes next year. It will drive again that sustainability in an SUV form. And yes, we can debate many things and many forms of vehicles, but one thing you cannot debate is how these cars are produced, and we are going to be at the forefront of that. Final point to me is the goal setting. Think about the present. The present right now is a fog, and we don't exactly know where to go. So what we need to do is we need to define goals, because to get to the next 50 meters, you need to go into some direction. And if you have a star that lights up a beacon that you can follow, then you can go to the next 50 feet. Because if you see the next 50 feet, you can see the next 50 feet after that. And for us, that is very important because your life and your vision reorganizes around the aim that you set. And we as Polestar have set that aim for net zero emissions by 2030, and our life and our mission and our company reorganizes around that aim, because it's the behavior of each individual that influences the whole. And we will start with that, and net zero is our goal, and I hope that we can set a very good example, not only for Sweden and Germany, but for the entire automotive industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. It's truly inspiring to hear that you're embarking on a journey where you simply don't know how to really to do it and where it will end,
Yeah.
but you have to do it.
Thank you.
together.
Honesty is the important part.
Thank you very much. And you also mentioned, Alexander, COP26 that ended last week, and there the phase down or phase out of coal was really in the center of the discussions. Part of driving that change are Volvo, for example, and Vattenfall, who were recognized at COP26 as two of the founding members as the first movers coalition alongside the US government and the World Economic Forum. As an example of Vattenfall's ambitious efforts, we will now listen to a case close to us, not only in time, it happens here and now, but also geographically, here in Hamburg. Vattenfall, together with the city of Hamburg and a number of leading companies, are working on an initiative called Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub. And they are also in process for financial support from the EU within the IPCEI program. And here to tell us more about that are Oliver Weinmann, Managing Director of Vattenfall Innovation, and Christian Heine, Managing Director of Wärme Hamburg. Welcome, Oliver and Christian.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the introduction, for the kind introduction. What has been mentioned already is climate change, which is one of the main issues we have to deal with in our society. And to combat climate change, we need to be greener, we need to be more fossil-free. One thing is, of course, electricity, and there was a belief that green electrons are needed, fossil-free electrons are needed. But what we need as well, and this definitely as well, is green molecules. So only with electrons we will not save our world. And this is common sense right now. It was and it has been developed in the last years, and we need to build up this hydrogen system for many applications we have in our economy, in our society. If it's industry, if it's transport, if it's heating, in many applications we will need hydrogen, and of course this hydrogen needs to be fossil-free, green at the end. Let me introduce Christian and myself to one of the projects we are doing in Hamburg, which is a cornerstone in Germany, the most, to my opinion at least, the most fascinating project we have in Germany. It's called the Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub, and this one is embedded in a broader initiative. It's a cornerstone of the German hydrogen initiatives. In total, 8 billion euros will be spent, public money in Germany for hydrogen in the next years. And yeah, let us introduce a little bit the Hamburg case, which is the Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub, and this is the main project in a broader sense in Hamburg, which is called the Hydrogen Alliance Hamburg. A lot of companies are involved here, and this shows again partnership is needed to get things doing. And partners of this, and a lot of projects are happening right now here, which is shown on the left side, and they show the whole value chain we have in Hamburg. We are this is production of hydrogen with electrolyzers, which is done in the Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub. It's transportation in a gas grid. It's multiple users of hydrogen, if it's industry or transportation. Heat is used as well from the electrolyzer for district heating. So we have a lot of applications and production of hydrogen in this area, and this could be a blueprint as well for the rest of Europe. So we're building the first grid integrated whole value chain in Hamburg. Next one is what we are doing, or who is involved in this project. What's shown here is a city, or the map of the city of Hamburg, the harbor area. In the middle, a little bit down, is the Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub, and the green spots are the companies, the industry who are already involved in this Hamburg Alliance, and the off-takers, the users of green hydrogen, which we are produced here. And so it's who is involved here besides Vattenfall, Wärme Hamburg, Mitsubishi, and Shell, who are building this Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub. It's ArcelorMittal, it's a steel company which is part of the project. It's Airbus Industry. They want to decarbonize the site they have in Hamburg, and on a long run they want to decarbonize flying as well. It's Hadak, which have it's a ferry company in the harbor of Hamburg. It's Hala, which is or HPA, which is owning the authority for the harbor with a lot of different applications. Transportation will be used here. It's vessels will run on hydrogen. So there are a lot of applications, but they all need green hydrogen, and there it comes back to the Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub, which is a cornerstone of this project, and to be explained by Christian.
Yeah, many thanks, Oliver. Lisa, I can only confirm that in Hamburg we really have a great public-private partnership initiated in the start, and I think the project is really exciting because Vattenfall, together with Wärme Hamburg and our two other partners, Shell and Mitsubishi, plan to convert a power plant into a green hydrogen hub, and we are planning to build an electrolyzer with a capacity of 100 megawatt, one of the largest in Europe, and that amounts to about 11,500 tons of hydrogen production per year. And for others who like a different number of it, if the electrolyzer runs throughout the year, that is about 170 to 180 million cubic meter of hydrogen. So quite a number, which you can't transport with the trailer logistics. I think so. We need to have an infrastructure, an hydrogen infrastructure that will also be provided in this project by the Hamburg gas grid company that will build a pipeline from the site of Moorburg to our industrial customers. So we have an exciting post-utilization project here, a post-utilization concept of how to convert a coal-fired power plant into the future. So why Moorburg? Well, Moorburg is interesting because it has a couple of components and parts that we can actually reuse for our project, right? There's a water treatment facility, there's an underground line system that we can use. There's also a quay wall to actually provide for Class Panamax ships to actually have also import and export opportunities at the site. And what is probably most important, we have a direct connection to the transmission system operator, that is to the 380 kilovolt electricity grid, which is of course of extreme importance. So that's why we decided to have this brownfield approach, converting the power plant into this hub and don't build it in a greenfield approach somewhere else in the harbor area. So it's quite exciting. So as far as the production of hydrogen is concerned, there are also a couple of needs as far as Hamburg industry is concerned. There's also the need for oxygen. So we produce oxygen and provide it to the industry. And as far as Wärme Hamburg is concerned, if you have an electrolyzer with a capacity of 100 megawatt, you also have industrial waste heat. 100 megawatt amounts to about 15 to 20 megawatt industrial waste heat. And as the company that runs the district heating system here in Hamburg, we have, of course, a huge interest to utilize this industrial waste heat and to integrate it into our system. So as far as the partners are concerned, we have Shell on start. Shell, of course, also has extremely ambitious plans to decarbonize its business. And they're also planning to construct a filling station for the heavy load vehicles and trucks and ships in the harbor area. We have Mitsubishi on board as the technical service provider. They support us with all the technical planning of the site. And then, of course, Vattenfall, not only the owner of the site and all the employees of Vattenfall, of course, know the site extremely well. It's extremely important. But Vattenfall will also provide the renewable energy that is needed. So the power purchase agreements that we need to run the operation will provide by Vattenfall. And Wärme Hamburg, well, we are the off-takers for the industrial waste heat on the one side, but we are also supporting this entire project as far as the permissions are concerned. And there are actually quite a few challenges, and we brought you a slide for this part, because what is, of course, extremely challenging is that we have to do the dismantling of some parts of the power plant at the very same time of the construction of the electrolyzer. So we need a permit for the dismantling of some parts of the power plant on the one hand, and we of course need the permits to build the electrolyzer at the site. There are also some other challenges to ramp up the hydrogen industry in Germany and throughout Europe. We need to have the right political and regulatory framework, and we have one example, that's the RED II and the question of the delegated act. Just one criteria, the additionality criteria, is here quite difficult as far as the ramp-up of constructing electrolyzers in Germany is concerned. And as far as our industrial partners are concerned, we do need contracts for difference, especially for the ramp-up, right? For a temporarily bridging the price and the cost of natural gas on the one hand and green hydrogen on the other. So this is, of course, something where we need to have the right political and regulatory framework. Well, otherwise, the dismantling and the permission question I've already addressed. So Lisa mentioned it. We have put in an application for the important projects of common European interests, and we are starting the pre-notification process now, and we hope to get the allowance from Brussels by the first quarter of the next year. Final investment decision will be by the end of next year, and then we start the construction in 23, and hopefully start the production of hydrogen by 2025. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, both of you, and we're very much looking forward to following your great endeavors, and especially within the IPSAI, of course. One question that I had, this is a great collaboration with many players, a lot of coordination, I assume. How did it all start? Who took the initiative?
In fact, Vattenfall took the first steps to build this Hamburg Green Hydrogen Hub, and then we looked for off-takers. But it came from the other side as well, from the off-taker side as well. So a need for hydrogen. They asked us, could you provide hydrogen? And so it came together. And at the end, we have this big alliance with a lot of partners, off-takers, producers, gas grid companies distributing hydrogen. It's a quite fancy project.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to following you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Make oil history, states the next company we will listen to. During the past 5 years, Northvolt has been a driver in the green battery revolution. In collaboration with a number of leading companies, German and others, they are aiming for a competitive European offer for a sustainable battery value chain. Joining us live from Stockholm, Christopher Hawks. Christopher, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Would have loved to, of course, be with you in Hamburg today, but due to circumstances, I am doing this from Stockholm, and I think that will work fine as well. So I would like to use the next minutes here to give you a bit of an insight in how we see this transition. I would like to give you an insight in a little bit of what we are doing. And I would also a little bit like to talk about the challenges that we are facing building a all new industry in Europe from scratch, basically, and competing with other regions of the world and companies that have been doing this for quite some time. So if we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Global warming, I don't think we have to dispute any longer if this is happening or not. It's a fact, and we all have a huge responsibility in fighting this. And one of the key tools that we have is transforming the transportation sector and the energy sector. Electromobility will be one of the main solutions. I think this is also today a very established fact. And we today see that the European industry, the automotive industry, not at least the German and the Swedish, is really making a huge effort to become leaders in this. We could listen to Polestar talking before, but many also others, German and Swedish automotive companies are truly very ambitious in this area. Obviously, this then comes, it's a great opportunity for the industry, but it's also a big challenge. It's an industry that has been used to incremental improvements over decades. And suddenly it comes a technology shift that happens within a very, very short period of time that this industry has to manage. And it's not only the automotive companies themselves, it's the whole supply chain. It's the tier ones, the large sub-suppliers making large components for the car companies. It is the small suppliers that the tier twos, the tier threes that supply the larger ones that are spread out in all over Europe. And the countries like Sweden and Germany are very, very dependent on this. I believe almost 15 million people is today connected to the automotive industry in one way or the other. I think Germany is the most dependent country today on automotive industry, and I believe Sweden is the second. So it is on one hand it's an opportunity, but it's also a big challenge to manage this in terms of keeping competitiveness and jobs, not the least, for us in Europe. And in this then, in the past, the combustion engine has been the core competence and what has built a lot of our success in Europe. And now this is changing, and the core competence instead becomes the battery cell. And the battery cell is something where we today are depending heavily on Asian players and competence situated in Asia, and not China the least. And I think here is a big focus area, an area that we really need to focus on over the coming years to build competitiveness in Europe. And if you take the next slide, please. So when we look at the world of batteries the coming years, we are seeing a massive demand growth. Basically if you look in Europe, which is the light blue, basically going from almost nothing a couple of years back only, up to a demand of somewhere 700 to 800 gigawatt hours per year. Just to give you a magnitude, what this means is that the factory, and I will come to that on the next slide later, the factory we now are building in northern Sweden, our first factory, will have a capacity once fully built out of somewhere 50 to 60 gigawatt hours. So we're talking about something 10 to maybe 15 very, very large gigafactories in Europe that needs to be built during the coming say 6 to 8 years. So it's an enormous challenge for Europe, and obviously what I think is important is that this is done not only by Asian players building production in Europe, but it's really happening with European technology and European companies. So let's take the next slide. So a little bit about Northvolt then. Northvolt was founded in 2016 with the belief that Europe needs its own battery industry, and also with the belief that battery industry needs to become sustainable. Most batteries today in the world are produced in grids, electricity grids with a very high carbon footprint, and batteries require a lot of energy for production. So to produce 1 kilowatt hour of batteries, you roughly need 70 to 80 kilowatt hours of energy. So it makes a ton of sense making this, doing this production of batteries in grids that have a high portion of renewable energies. So we have then over the past 5 years, we have grown to today being almost 2,500 people. We're growing by roughly 150 people per month. Very, very international team, also driven by the fact then that we a lot of the competences can today, unfortunately, not be found in Europe. So a lot of competence and people from Asia, from the US, etc. We are operating mainly in the automotive markets, but also very, very important for us and coming more and more, we see the energy storage markets, so what we call grid, but also we see emerging also an industrial market where everything that has a diesel engine basically is converted to electricity. Headquarters in Stockholm, we have our research and development center in a city called Västerås, about an hour outside of Stockholm, And then obviously, as you can see on the picture here as well, we are building our first gigafactory in Skellefteå in northern Sweden, where one of the key factors for locating the factory to Skellefteå was the access to green energy, hydropower in northern Sweden. So here, what you can see in the picture is the first expansion step. You cannot really see the size of what we're doing here in a good way on the picture, but this is the first step, a production of 16 gigawatt hours that then will expand over the coming years up to become the largest production site of batteries in Europe, somewhere around 60 gigawatt hours. Just to give you an idea about the size of the kind of factories, if you go from one end of this factory or one corner of this site to the other corner, it's almost 2.5 kilometers. So it's a really big factory. And our ambition as a company is not only to stop with one factory. We have a really strong pipeline of both orders on hand as well as customer interest, and intend now over the coming years to expand with further factories in Europe. We believe then that we will, by the end of the decade, have probably 3 factories in Europe, and aiming for a capacity of around 150 gigawatt hours, which would then also give us a quite good market share in Europe, and obviously at some point also expanding beyond that. If you take the next slide. But a little bit to give you a flavor of the challenges and also that we are facing building an all new industry in Europe. And I've mentioned it already that most of the technologies around batteries today are originating from Asia. We see a lot of the emerging technologies that we believe will be key in the future, emerging in the US. And it doesn't really have to be this way, we think, because Europe is very strong in basic research around batteries and battery technology. But what is lacking is the commercialization, where US has a very strong startup culture, which has allowed a lot of the research in the universities to transform into companies. And we see many of these companies now growing at a very fast pace. And I think here Europe really needs to think in new ways. I think we need a much stronger collaboration between industry and academia. But I think also we need to support bold ideas and bold people that are willing to take the risk and industrialize great ideas. And I also think that established companies has a responsibility here to attract, to make companies more mission driven, more and to create a stronger talent attractiveness for people that are bringing these great ideas. The other aspect, which connects very much to the same topic, is that the supply chain. When we are building our factories today, we are very dependent on both machine tool builders as well as component and material suppliers from Asia. And many countries in Asia have understood this, that this is also today geopolitics. But Europe has actually many of the prerequisites to be a strong here. We have a strong chemical industry, we have a strong machine tool building industry, but I think we have been much too slow in transforming and understanding the importance of battery cells in the future, and also what scaling is necessary in order to serve this industry going forward. So I think we as a Europe, to summarize, we have a great opportunity, and also especially maybe Sweden and Germany, but it will require some new thinking and a little bit higher ambition and boldness than what we have had in the past.
Thank you very much, Christopher, and it's really a remarkable journey you've done in the past 5 years, starting as a startup, obviously, and I guess for a short while you were considered SME, but now an employer that employing a considerable amount of people. But now we will listen to people talking just about smart SMEs, small and medium-sized companies, because they are the backbone of both the Swedish and German economies, and they are important job creators, account for a large portion of the GDP, and play key roles when it comes to innovation. So live from Stockholm and Berlin, we will now hear from Vinnova, Sweden's innovation agency, and AIF Project, who will give us an update on possibilities related to bilateral SME collaborations. Bianca Doktorovic and Jenny Goodlatt, welcome.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for both the introduction as well as inviting us to be a part of today's interesting business summit. We're both very pleased to be here today and to discuss or to inform a little bit more about the ongoing collaboration between Germany and Sweden. The close collaboration with the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy in Germany and Vinnova has been ongoing for the past 4 years. We've held 4 joint calls aiming for R&D projects within all thematic areas, focusing on, as Lisa mentioned, the SME collaboration joint with research organizations. These projects are, of course, expected to develop products, technology-based services or methods that are able to generate sustainable solutions with both market potential and potential to solve and address global challenges. So far, we have jointly funded 21 projects, and as this is a call that's open for all thematic areas, we've seen quite a widespread between production, smart cities, new markets, new materials, healthcare, AI, and digitalisation. The outcome that we've heard from both German and Swedish stakeholders are that they're pleased about the long-term collaboration between the project consortia, as well as a greater access to both the German and the Swedish markets. So we're very pleased to inform you that we'll be organizing a 5th joint call by popular demand, so to speak, and that we see great potential within this area. The call will have the same setup as previously, aiming at all thematic areas for SMEs and research organizations. And this call will be opened during next year, Q1. So please keep an eye out on both our websites. And with that said, I leave the word to my colleague, Jenny Goodlatt.
Thank you, Bianca, for this overview of our very fruitful and successful innovation collaboration so far between Sweden and Germany. It's great to see that we were able already to fund so many innovative projects and from so many different fields of technologies as well. That's great. So any questions that the German applicants might have about CIM in general, but particularly also this joint call for proposals, can be directed to us here at AIF Projekt GmbH in Berlin. So you see the email address here, so feel free to send us an email or give us a call, of course. You find the contact details on the CIM website, and we're here for you to answer any questions you might have. So we're looking forward to many more successful applications.
Thank you.
Now it is time for the panel discussion on the theme of a reinvention of innovation. And to our online viewers, an 8-digit number appearing on your screens is linked to the ability to pose questions to the panelists. In order to do so, simply log on to menti.com, type the 8-digit number and pose your question. I would like now to introduce the panelists. Rada Rodriguez, with many years of experience from several executive positions, currently president of the pan-European organization Orgalim, and CEO of Signify DACH. We have entrepreneur Nils Kunov, specializing in bringing Scandinavian businesses to Germany and currently serving as managing director for Swedish charge amps in DACH. And we have Daniel Lundgren, commercial director at Siemens Energy Sweden, with a thorough background within the energy sector. Rada, Nils, and Daniel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my first question to you, the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the adoption of technologies and pushed the world fast foot forward into the future. So, according to you, what is the most exciting innovation that has come out of the pandemic? Rada, would you like to start?
I start? Well, for me, it's the vaccine. So that's the most exciting one, because in a very, very short time, maybe the molecule were there before, I don't know. I'm not a specialist in that technology, but anyhow, I understand it was breakthrough technology, and it's an innovation, and it helps, and it's saving a lot of lives. So that's for me the best one.
Thank you. Nils, would you like to continue?
Yes, if I should say something, I would first of all, join in with what Alexander said from Polestar, that it was a very sad time, and that I did not enjoy COVID at all. But looking at the positive things, and that's what we want to do, of course, I think it's very obvious that finally, and especially for Germany that counts, that we have made a big step towards digitalisation. And I would say it reflects in the way we work today a lot. We travel less, which is very functional towards the big goals that we pursue, and we are more efficient. I think we are a lot more efficient in communicating over the new media. So that is definitely a positive outcome.
Interesting. Daniel, do you agree, or do you have something else?
I thought about the buzzword. For me, it's maybe adoption, that we have, we have adopted. We want to. People are quite, manageable in terms of how do we cope with the new situation. So, I mean, the pandemic per se has not been good at all. But, the way we have adopted and how we then maybe use that also privately and in business life is, what we can take with us, I think.
Thank you. Interesting thoughts indeed. Turning back to you, Rada, as a president of Orgalim, that's Europe's technology industries network, with, for example, German VDMA and Swedish Teknikföretagen as members, you represent Europe's technology industries at a EU level. What would you say is the single most important issue for your member companies to work with when it comes to innovation for driving a competitive Europe?
I will answer the question. I just need a little bit to give you a little bit of background. So it's the European technology industry. It's more than 770,000 companies, 1/3 of the European export. Why I'm saying that? Because this industry is per se always competing through innovation. And it was like this since this industry exists. We are not competing on price, we are not competing on other things, so we are competing on innovation. Now what is happening is that we see our leadership position when it comes to competitiveness it starts not to be so obvious as it was before. So we are still leading in a lot of fields, but that leadership position starts to be threatening from other regions. And one of the concern we have, because that is back to your question, is how can we secure that we remain competitive also in the next 50 years as we were in the past. And for me, the single most important thing is to create an environment which attracts more private investment. And that is for me an environment, a legislative environment, a political environment, to make it attractive for private investment in Europe.
Very, very interesting. And staying onto the EU level, because obviously that is very important in in competing with US and China and other large players. Niels, one proof of the transformation in the mobility industry is the large proportion of the funding from Next Generation EU that we heard about before, that is allocated to climate-friendly mobility and your business. How do you see that public funding schemes, especially on the consumer side maybe, has pushed innovation within e-mobility? And maybe you can explain a bit also what ChargeAmps do.
Okay, yeah, maybe I should start with that then. ChargeAmps is a manufacturer of charge points. We build the infrastructure for electric vehicles, focusing especially on private and semi-public users. Our product is focusing on being leading edge in terms of design, haptics, beautiful optics, but also, and this is maybe a very typical Scandinavian approach, also very functional and practical backbone, especially when it comes to software. The question is around what have public fundings done for the industry, especially on the consumer side. And I would answer that personally I'm not a fan of, I don't believe that governments are the best investors or drivers for new technologies, at least at the cradle. But obviously, it can be a driver when the right moment has come and the right technology has evolved to push it so that it sort of creates or it comes over the initial hurdle and can build a momentum, can generate the right critical mass. And I think e-mobility is a very good example of that, actually. And it definitely has helped, and especially in Germany, I would say, where we have a very strong auto lobby that was not initially pro, I would say. Elon Musk is maybe the one who has actually been the visionary and the true inventor here. But the German state has initiated quite some funding towards the vehicles and actually also lately towards the charge points, which has definitely given a big boost to our industry. So that was positive.
Yeah. And how do you see that development going forward? How do you think? How long do you think they should support?
Yeah, I think that we have obviously got a change of government happening right now in Germany, which is why our specific subsidy towards the charge points has actually been halted. It's been oversubscribed. It's been a huge success, if you want. And I personally believe it will come back with the new government. However, it should also come back because we need definitely to build up the infrastructure desperately. So it's something that still needs push, and it will be highly appreciated by us also.
Great to hear. Great for your business, I can understand. Daniel, turning to you, the power sector obviously accounts for a large proportion of global greenhouse emissions. So what you do really can make a difference and must happen here and now. And Siemens Energy is committed, according to your webpage, to be climate neutral on own operations by 2030. That is not that far in the distance. What is the single largest barrier to reach that goal? And how are you working with innovation in order to reach it?
I think when it comes to energy topics, it's never one single silver bullet that will solve the topic. So it's to say there's one single portion. I think it's very difficult to say because there are so many topics that are dependent upon each other. And I think when it comes to, if I look at what we have done in at our site that we have, which is fairly large in Sweden at Siemens Energy, a very big manufacturing site. I mean. We were working on this for a very long time, and now at our test center, we have a zero-emission turbine test center, which means that we have, through entrepreneurship, actually had an innovation day where people pitched how to do it, where we then said we will go forward with this proposal. We formed a team. We pulled together how could this look like, and then of course also we are. Lots of people globally. We spend a lot of money on innovation, we need to collaborate as well because it's a full system with topics that we have not maybe done before. It's not part of a manufacturing facility. It's more part about being an energy operator, which we are not. Vattenfall is, so we need to collaborate, and also when it comes to new things, it's good with academia. We have a long history with that as well. So with that, of course, we formed a team. We actually also got EU to buy in on it, and now we are producing green hydrogen at our facility since 6 months or so. You don't do it quickly and you don't do it easily. It's like any other work. You have to do it every day.
You mentioned very interesting about this Innovation Day. It was then internally that you encourage employees to come up with ideas.
Yes,
is that
that's
right?
how we start. And not only the R&D department,
Huh?
which I think is important to say also, so that you actually take the strength of a full company for it.
And how do you then, as a leader, inspire other areas and other departments that are not working with R&D to what's in it for them?
No, but I mean, what's in it for them? They have a lot of fun, I think. I think they also feel that they, are making, they give impact or have impact. I think that working with technology products, as everybody does in the company, it's not limited to what is the name of the department you work at. I think that is how it was maybe years ago.
Yeah.
So that's, I think it's how, and that's, the strength is where you collaborate with people. Why, we are happy that we are at least part-time back in the office.
Very interesting. And Nils and Radha, you are obviously also leaders. How do you inspire and encourage innovation, not by only the innovators of your company? Maybe Nils can start
if you want. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're obviously in a very different situation at Chargems compared to these two big, huge companies that you guys represent. We are more by definition, I think, very agile. We have an extremely young team in terms of seniority in the company. I think we have fourfolded our team within the last 12 to 18 months. We're still only 120 people, so probably a factor 1,000 less, I think we realized just before, than Siemens. But for us, of course, I think there's a more natural agility into it. People are very young on the job. They are searching to be integrated. We have a constant onboarding process going on, as you can imagine. But in order to get into the topics, there is a high interdependency between the staff. So there is a very open spirit in that. So we don't need to initiate that. I think that's maybe one of the key differences compared to a bigger company. And as a leader, I think what you do with that is you try to not create firm roles or fixed roles. It's very flat hierarchies by definition, very Swedish or very Scandinavian. Not so German always, but very Scandinavian in that sense. So that is by definition already the case, and in a small company also. But we need to secure that a person on a project, on a development, can take different roles. And you can be the leader in a project, and in the next project you are a supporter. So it is flexible enough so that there's actually an interaction that puts light on both sides and I think empowers people in the right way.
Does it also work in Germany and DACH? The Swedish way, Scandinavian way?
I think it works even better here because people appreciate it much more and they're not used to it. So it's, in certain ways, it's an easy win if you implement that.
Interesting. Radha, would you like to comment also?
Yes, thank you. Well, as you said, and I joined a new company, and not only a new company, it's a new industry for not many months ago, 6 months ago. It's Signify, it's lighting industry. So I'm still learning a lot. But what I can say so far in terms of innovation, I discovered that lighting is so much more than lighting. You know, what you can do with lighting, except for the obvious, you purify your environment and the air, which is now a fantastic feature in a pandemic situation. You can transmit data. You can share data with lighting, so Li-Fi, it's the pendant of Wi-Fi. So you can do so much more, and normally it's energy efficiency by excellence, which you can drive. It's also the fantastic start for the smart city, because you have all the public lighting and every every lighting can be a node for data. So it's a fantastic infrastructure for a smart city. So and much more. So a little bit like you said, I have a very young team. They don't need a lot of push to think in new out of the box and to innovate. So. It feels natural. Innovation comes, but as I said before, in the technology world, innovation comes really easily. It's in the DNA of the technology industry, and also for lighting, of course, the same thing. So it's not a very difficult job for me to inspire people to innovate.
Great. I guess you have many similarities then with the young teams and the spirit within the companies. To the online audience, there are still room for posing questions. So simply log on to menti.com, type in the 8-digit number, and pose your question. Continuing with you a bit, Rada, voices are being raised that the way we need to innovate needs to be reinvented, and that's what also this panel is about. And pre-pandemic research showed that 84% of managers recognize innovation as extremely important to business success. Yet only 6% are happy or satisfied with the companies, with the way their own companies innovate and their innovation performance. Are you happy with the Signify innovation? Are you doing enough?
Well, it's never enough. But I would like, it's never enough. So I would like to you make the difference two bullet points, put it like that. One is innovation is, of course, what you are just doing and all doing in our companies is either you bring new features to an existing product, or you serve a new need of as you are doing, you serve a new need at a customer. And this is the part where I think Europe and all the companies I know and we represent are pretty good at. Where comes the real difficulty is to commercialize it and to scale it up. And here I think we are slow. So if I am not satisfied with something, it's on the speed. It's not on the content, which I think it's good. It can always be better, but it's good. We are lagging behind compared to other regions, and I'm thinking about US and now lately also China, is that commercialization and that scaling up is far too slow.
And why is Europe slower than the other?
Well, I think we are probably we still stick to some old thinking. Let's put it like that. Even if I would not say that we need to reinvent R&D, I think we have to upgrade it to take it to the next step in terms of speed. And I think, of course, you can learn a lot of the tools startups are using, rapid prototyping, just naming one of it. So cutting the time we have seen. I'm coming back to the vaccine. I mean, it was taken in 1 year or in 2 years. So there were cut a lot of intermediary steps. A lot of things were done simultaneously, and that can be done also in the upgraded R&D as well. So that I think we need to shorten the time. And then, of course, maybe you have to prepare very well your homework, so that time when you are ready with the product and you come on the market is ready somehow to take it, so that you can scale up. So they are not coming with something which the market is not ready to take.
Daniel, are you happy with the Siemens Energy's Sweden's innovation?
Yes. I think I'm super supportive, of course, and quite proud of what people are doing every day. I think that there is. What I think has been key for the last. I mean, I've been in the industry for almost 17, 18, almost 20 years now. The fact is that when you do something you don't know what the result's going to be. You know, we invested heavily into additive manufacturing quite a long time ago, when you had the one first printer, and then you need to have design capabilities, or you have to learn them. You have to think out of the box. Maybe you're hindered by your own biases, because you have learned over the years that things are not possible because it's physics, and then you have to really think out of the box. But now I have additive manufacturing, which means you have the possibility to do things without welding, without transporting back and forth, without a lot of material, but you actually laser printing, but in metal, and that gives you new possibilities that you could not think about before. And that, I think, is the strength that we actually have, is that you can see with what's happening in the market, which is like machine tool builders that are not part of our core, but can we apply to that? And maybe it's just because it fitted into the first prototype. Are you on the right size? Are you at the right time? So you actually have to have a little bit of luck also, I think. It's always good when you innovate.
To be at the right time at the right place, I guess.
Yeah. And have a little bit of luck, then you will innovate even better, I think.
Nils, are you satisfied with Chargeham's innovation?
Yes, again, I think we are coming from a very different position. A founder, a visionary founder that started and embarked on a journey with a strong drive, which we are building on, and not these super tankers that have a completely different structure left and right from me. But maybe I would say innovation is a big word, and the first thing that springs to mind to me is the big breakthrough technology that LED in your industry, for instance, or OLED, or what it was 10 years ago. And obviously, it's e-mobility is electric, it's battery-driven cars. Maybe a little anecdote. I've been on a summer vacation in Holland in a museum, and it was a car museum because my little boy loves cars. And as we went through the museum, I saw that actually the first electric car was from the 19th century, which I did not know. So that is putting innovation also into perspective. And as you just said, it's a lot about timing, and then having the lucky timing also, and being at the right spot at the right time. And now's the time for e-mobility, that's for sure. So yes, I think we are okay on innovation. But I'm not going to say we're good enough, because there's also people from the company watching, so that I shouldn't say.
So the message to your employees is keep being on the toes. Yeah.
I mean, pace is, speed is of essence. I totally agree to that. And luck is something that needs to be in it as well. But you need to be focused, and you need to be agile. You need to be attentive, because things, and that's another element of innovation these days, are just changing so rapidly. Disruption used to be, the dark horse, and now it's becoming sort of a standard, I would say, almost, that we're waiting for the new disruption in every industry to happen. So you need to be really alert. And I think innovation equals alertness in many ways.
We have a question here from the audience, and maybe I will give that to you, Nils, since you are in a very much of an expansion phase, hiring people.
Yes.
So it's actually, if you're hiring someone to work with innovation, what profile are you looking for?
Not a specific profile. Maybe I should say, first of all, I would like to say we are in the market for hiring people. So if you're interested to join us, please apply. But what my personal experience is that the ones who know everything about the industry beforehand are not necessarily the ones that perform best. So, feel free to also join in from left or right. That is very often the more open-minded approach, and that can work very well.
Good message to our viewers. Great. Daniel, turning back to you, talking a bit more about co-creation as a future for innovation. One example is that you mentioned the Zero Emission Hydrogen Turbine Center in Finspång. And a giant like Siemens Energy, I mean, you have 90,000 employees worldwide, across 90 countries or so? Yeah. And spending some 1 billion euros annually for R&D, is that so?
On innovation, yes.
Yeah.
What to say.
Why? I mean, you have obviously a lot of capacity in-house. Why collaborate with others? Why can't you do it on your own?
I think it's obvious, what we spoke about here before, and I just want to connect on this with luck as a last sentence on that. It's normally the best players in sports that are the most lucky ones. So it seems to be something with being good also. But I mean the co-creation and the partnerships, etc. I think we have learned examples here today that are in similar situations where you look. I mean, you have of course maybe a core competence, and then of course that needs to fit into a system. That needs to be, how will it work with others? Technology-wise, what are the future trends, etc. 90,000 people ain't that much for that. It's my view, personal view. What is it today in the world? 8 billion? I can't remember. Lots of people. So there are things happening that you can't, that you can't have oversight of yourself, and maybe people are working on something that has nothing to do with what your industry is doing, but that you can apply on it, and that I think we see a lot. That's what you want to scout for and what you want to get impression on. And we work both regionally within the Swedish region where the Finspång site is located, which is a fairly big site. But now, of course, then when that is a success, you start to scale up. Now I think this year we had applications from 3 continents for that little co-creation topic, which actually started in a region in a small country up at the far north. So we need to get impressions from others.
Radha, you are nodding. Do
Yes,
you agree with this?
I
Is this
agree.
also
Yes.
your take on collaboration?
I agree with everything Daniel said, and I would like to add, it's not only the fact that you cannot know everything and you cannot do everything alone, because there are so many other things happening around you, but it would be also extremely costly if you would just rely on yourself and try to do everything, invented in your house. So it's both to get creativity and ideas on one side, but it is also to optimize your costs. And unfortunately, I believe that our industry generally, not only the lighting, the technology industry generally in Europe, has a lot to learn from other industries. So I'm thinking life science industries, they know how to do alliances in a very professional way, because that's also it's a métier. It's not something which is happening by chance. I mean, you might do it and it might go good if you are lucky, or it might go wrong if you are not very lucky. I think also there you need to be very professional, and it has to be a strategic intention from the top. So you put the resources on the table, you have the strategic focus from the top, and then you start to professionalize the alliance, and then the chances are extremely good that you are picking the best from 2 or 3 companies, and you are getting to the next step.
Very interesting indeed. We are getting towards the end, but a final question to you with a quick 30-second answer from all of you. We talked a lot about successful innovation here today, during the case and during the panels. But of course, in the path to success, we experience failure. What is the biggest innovation failure you have experienced, and what have you learned from that? Would you like to start, Daniel?
I'm a stock-listed company, so I don't know. I don't know. Biggest failures maybe when you don't learn anything from it, when you feel ashamed, when we give you less courage going on. Those type of soft topics that we speak about all the time. That I think is maybe the ones that could be the biggest failures then.
Nils?
We are going to get stock listed next year, so I also have to be careful. No, obviously there are failures in product developments or launches, and what I can mention is maybe that we had a product, a cable actually, that was becoming obsolete, actually due to rules and regulations changing, so we couldn't actually do so much for it. But the failure maybe in that is that we put all our focus into this one product, and that's maybe also because, as a young company, you focus and you bet in certain ways and you hope to get lucky with it, and that was a challenge. So that's something we had to overcome and react really quickly on, which we managed, but it was a tough learning, and tough learnings are often the best drivers for innovation. So.
I would like to connect to that one. I think what's very important is to fail fast. And that is also what we learned from the startups, that as you know, all their processes are much leaner and faster. They also fail fast, or at least that's what you should do. And then of course learning from the failures. And for me, it's again very important how you have prepared, how you have made your homeworks, how you have prepared the market, how you have prepared all the whole stakeholders, so that the product is really getting a success.
Thank you very much. We're coming to an end of this year's Sweden-German Business Day, and I would like to thank our panelists, Daniel, Nils, Rada.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa.
We would also like to thank our other speakers in this Swedish-German Business Day. New ways to innovate sustainable solutions and collaboration. Today we've heard a number of things that Sweden and Germany are doing together to strengthen European competitiveness. We hope that today's guests have inspired you and shown that individuals, companies, and governments are working together to solve the global challenges of today. We want to continue building on the great relationship between Sweden and Germany. So please already now mark your calendars for the next edition of Swedish-German Business Days that will take place in Berlin, 17th of November next year. Until then, from our studio at Vattenfall HQ in Hamburg, my name is Lisa Tullus. Thank you very much for watching.